Hi, welcome back to Universe Connection with Vivian. This is a new episode for me. Second episode. And I just kind of want to touch another point or another subject that I think is highly important. And I think some of us go through this, and I want to talk about the phoenix. I don't know if anybody knows that sizzling, firing bird that when it uses all its power, it disintegrates into ashes. And then in the next moment or the next day, it recovers and it is reborn again. And for me, what does that mean? That means the story of my life. Yeah, I can relate to the phoenix very much. And knowing that and connecting to that, on multiple levels in my life, I've had those moments where I think some of us have gone through things like that, where you put it all in and then in the outcome, you sizzle and burn because all your energy and everything is out of you. And then you decide that, oh, let me have some wine. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, that has been one of those things where I use everything up. And a bottle of wine just made it feel so much better. But the recovery did take me weeks or maybe a week, or it depends. It really depends. In some of those moments of my life that I can actually kind of, point out, when I quit teaching, I walked away, I surrendered it. I put all my effort trying to be the best teacher ever, and just not getting what I put out. And so that was a really phoenix moment that took me a little while to figure out. Not only that, even, like relationships, when, you walk away from a relationship sometimes, that could be another incident, making business financial decisions, and then you like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, did I do the right thing? Is it working? Oh my God. I messed up. I really messed up. And you don't mess up. So I'm just going to kind of put that in perspective so I can tell you that I'm here. I want to tell and share my stories because I hope something will become of it for someone else. And it not necessarily have to be lined up to the same story, but when you're put up in front of something and you are on a threshold and you're like looking in the door and you're going, oh my God, should I do it or should I not do it? This even happens with wanting to go to college and then doing that and completing things like that. A phoenix can be for anybody something that they utilized all their energy and their high anxiety. I had high anxiety like crazy, and I've learned with tools how to manage that. This is not my perfect, how do I say it? I think we want things to be perfect, but I think when you see it unfolding and it shows you, you can breathe into it. So, like I said, I walked away from a job, teacher, and I really put a lot of energy, and I had a lot of obstacles in that, and I didn't know how to anchor myself, but, I pushed through it, and every day I was so exhausted. I love my students. I love that I could be there for them, but I also love myself more. And I think that was a big threshold for me to recognize that I needed to take care of myself. So, that's not just, I have many phoenix moments, but that's the one I'm going to talk about right now, is that my health became an issue, and my nervous system was through the roof, and I had never had high blood pressure, and all of a sudden I had high blood pressure. Actually put on a lot of weight. I think my high weight was 188, and since then I walked away from teaching 2024. Yeah, 2024, December, 2 weeks right before Christmas break or holiday break, whatever you want to call it, winter break. And to be politically correct, right? So what I'm saying is I walked away. I was scaredless, man. I was like, this is scary. What am I going to do? You know, and I was just in a, relationship with my husband now. I'm thinking, oh my God, this woman is quitting her job. She's in a relationship. Everything is just like bombarding. And I took the risk. I did. And I figured, okay, what am I going to do? So I took out some money from my retirement because I said, what the hell, man? I might be retiring here. Like, I don't want to retire. But I thought, well, this is a perfect idea to use this dang money, man. Maybe I might die and not have money. and have all this money, and I could have used it for a perfectly good reason, right? So I took some steps like that. But also just wanted to explain to you, this is not like a Phoenix moment. It has not been my first rodeo, but I have been learning and teaching or growing and expanding by reading books. I read books on manifestation. I read books on law of attraction. I read books on quantum physics. Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie. I mean, I've done so much. I mean, my bookshelf is like overflowing. And then my bookshelf also is overflowing with all the journaling that I've done and how powerful that has been such a great tool for me. And, I've explored other areas, spiritual, what was the other ones? Metaphysics. I've done some of that, and I look at it and I think the whole concept for me is now how intertwined and how interconnected everything is, and how I could be able to figure it out some more. So what I did was, I remember going to even Reiki, and I even became a Reiki master. So I do Reiki, but I don't practice it in, I practice it on myself. I figured that would be a really good tool for me. And I didn't understand it until I started seeing, well, what does it do? And it deals with your chakras, and there's, some metaphysical concepts, but there's also scientific concepts like, quantum physics and energy and how energy gets stuck in our bodies. So I can talk about that in a whole different concept. But I'm just saying is that I started using these tools for myself, not, because I wanted to live a calmer life. And that's probably the basis of why I keep wanting to create a balanced, emotional, delicious life. And so when I realized what I was doing and moving energy, I mean, when I do Reiki on myself or anybody, I'll give you my secret. If you hear me burping a lot, then maybe there's something that needs to move in that area where, I don't know. But I just went with it. I flowed with it. I accepted it. And then I even realized that laying on the floor was another tool that I needed to do because I didn't understand it, where my body was just like freaking out, or I had these rolling thoughts in my mind that really blew me away. And I'm thinking, well, that's not really true because I'm only laying here in bed. So why? And then that kind of came into my thoughts about Byron Katie, or Eckhart Tolle on the bench. Like, he's just a man on a bench, and by Katie, she was a woman laying on the floor with a cockroach on her. That's all it was. So I started to, really evaluate that and put that in thinking, okay, so I'm a woman laying in bed, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with my whole body freaking out, like anxiety, like all of a sudden just like, and my mind spinning. And I'm going, I'm just a woman laying in bed next to my husband. What is going on? And fear started to creep in. So, not that I have this all figured out, but these are things that I've learned, and I thought maybe I could share it with somebody because we don't know. If you can be aware of what your body is saying, it's actually telling you a lot, And how to calm that? Well, I figured laying on the ground with my chest down and then breathing out and burping through it it helped. And I've been doing this, for a little while. Actually, I wanted to share this for this reason is because I noticed that I don't do that anymore. I don't wake up in the middle of the night with my nervous system coming through my body. And I didn't even know what it was until I realized that, because your nervous system knows a lot. It holds all these, memories, emotional memories. So, if we've had trauma or something, that has affected us, that's a possibility. And like I said, in my first episode, I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm a teacher. I have a bachelor's in human development and family dynamics, and I have a master's in special education. And that was my path. And now I realized that was part of what I was doing. And also I've been trying to figure this out since I was a child. And why? Because I would see all the dysfunction around me, and I would ask, why do people act like this? Why are we behaving like this? And, in my conclusion and the way I'm still living my life, I see there's connections, and that's why this channel is called Universe Connection, and or this podcast. I'm doing channels and podcasts, so I'm really excited because this is so opening doors and thresholds for me, because I'm learning how to be authentic, be true to myself, and maybe help somebody else. That's probably why I became a teacher. That's probably why I leaned into the human and family dynamic area, because I recognize behaviors and I see patterns all the time. And, when we're stuck, sometimes we stay stuck because we're still looping in those thoughts, and it becomes dramatic in so many ways. And then you start bringing people in, or, I'm just stating things out loud. And this is what my channel or my podcast is about. I'm stating it, it's a possibility. If it does, if it resonates, perfect. If it doesn't, that's okay. I just want to thank you and, for sitting with me for a little bit. I'm a little bit moving and shaking because I'm holding my camera, and this is all, or my phone. This is all kind of new for me, and I want it to be authentic. I don't need the bells and whistles. If you don't need bells and whistles for me to not convince you, but to share with you, then we're on the right channel, or we're on the right podcast, or we're in the right place. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm still learning about regulating my nervous system, and how not to panic. And this is all new because I'm crossing so much, and we're always doing it. But I think if we allow ourselves to do it, then we see the possibilities, we see the opportunities. I'll tell you stories about relationships and how I have come to understand, or at least whatever. It's all good. Anyways, So let's just, be more aware, and not burn down. So I will try not to burn myself out after this, because this is my second episode on this podcast, and I'm really looking forward to being more comfortable, because it's like riding a bike, or when you ride a bike, the first time you're kind of wobbly. Well, that's where I'm at right now, and that's okay, because I'm being authentic. Being wobbly the second time around, it'll get better, and we're gonna make this the most amazing, fun experience, and I get to share my thoughts, and if you're willing to hear and maybe build a community, we can do that here. On that note, I want to thank you for joining me, and if there was a tip in here somewhere along the line, or if it was something that you've experienced, share that with me. I would love to explore it further, and I will share more stories, but just taking those steps, the first leap, taking action, it's all about manifesting and creating the life you want and desire. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working on that, but it's a process and it's a journey. So I've come to the conclusion that, it's like the car you want, and you have it, and it's okay. Oh, I don't know where I'm going with this. So, yes, I do. So, I manifested, a vehicle, and it's in the garage. And I know it's in the garage. So I'm confident enough to know that I've made that step to get the vehicle in the garage. That's kind of how I want this channel to be. To know that we can come here and chit chat, but the weirdest things that, do other people do that? Or I know I do. And then why do we act like we don't know? Well, because maybe we don't, or we act like we know. That's basically what I want to say. Is a lot of people act like, they know how to do it. Anyhow, so let me go back and say thank you again, and we're gonna work and build this together and figure it out. So on that note, share, I don't know what I'm learning, and this is fun, and I get to do this because I made a decision. Let's say best day ever, and peace out. Take care.